Hey everyone, so I thought I'd do another video, this time on passing. So you can see I've got all the quarterbacks out. And this kind of currently looks like the quarterbacks round when they're doing the NFL Combine. So I've split them up into groups for us, just to have a quick look. So we've got the superstar quarterbacks here. We've then got the guys that have got 2 skills each. And then I've grouped the others, ones that have got pocket passer, ones that have got route passer, ones that have got QB read, if there is only one who's only got QB read. Incidentally, all 4 superstars have QB read on them. And then this guy who's got screen passer. Screen passer is only 2 players in the league that have got it. One is Dakota of the Lumberjacks, and the other is Manley of the Giants. Well, sorry, of the Gorillas. Then we have these 2 guys who are 5s, both with pocket passer, and then we've got this guy with pitch. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how all the skills work, and how I'd kind of rank them a little bit as well. So I definitely think QB read is the best skill, and that's on all of these guys. The reason I think it's the best skill is because controlling the timing of the pass is way more important than any benefits you get. So having any of these teams allows you to just have your QB on the bench, right, in your outside of your play call, and when that moment turns up for you to need to play him, you just take him off your bench, play the QB, and he can roll out of trouble. So these teams are all very, very difficult to blitz. So Dodgers has got pocket passer and QB read and dodge, and dodge is kind of it's kind of pants, but pocket passer is definitely my second favourite skill on passing, and considering he's got both passing skills and is the only player in the game to have both, that makes him a bit of a monster. Then we've got this guy who is a very, very weird mixture, total handful, because he can, he's a very mobile quarterback. He can either choose to pitch it, do a flea flicker, or he can do a juke and then do a flea flicker, or he can do all sorts of weird shenanigans that you just don't see anywhere else in the game. So I kind of expect the coach of the Falcons to pull out a few trick plays. I'm kind of nervous about playing him. Then we've got QB Eagles. Again, it's also got Juke and QB read, but his unique skill is route passer. So what's quite cool about him is you can put him 5th in your play call, and normally with QB read I wouldn't bother putting him in the play call, but with this guy you can put him 5th in the play call and kind of make your decision at that point of, is it going to be a run or is it going to be a pass? And if it's going to be a run, you juke and then run. And if it's going to be a pass, you make your route pass into one of your 6s. This guy has got route passer, screen passer, and QB read. So as I say, QB read is awesome. Route passer is not far behind pocket passer now as being the second best skill. And screen passer, I think, has got worse. And I think it's got worse with the recent update because now everyone has catch. Every single receiver can boost using the first edition catch skill. So I will come on to everyone else in a second. I'll come back to these guys. Then we've got Fast, who is the only guy in the league with option. He's got pitch and option. Now, pitch I don't think is brilliant. It's not bad, especially when you've got it stacked on him, because he can come up with some really, really cool trick plays. This guy, option is kind of scary. He can only do option when an opponent becomes in contact with him, at which point it's automatically a handoff under pressure. So it's kind of a horrible idea to ever use it, because everyone knows that handoffs under pressure go wrong 1 in 6 times. and it's just a recipe for disaster. Then we've got this guy who Sushi kind of went from being one of the worser teams in the original first edition to suddenly being pretty damn good in McFadden. The reason I say that is they've got Pocket Passer and Brood Passer on the 6. They've also got to go with Spin. Now, that gives them a lot of options. I do think Greenbacks and Sushi, the one problem they have, if they have one at all, is that both of them really are only fantastic at offense. They're not so great at defense, and that might cause them a little bit of trouble. Then the other teams, I've just realised I've not brought out Tridents, so we'll get the Tridents guy, Iota, and I'll stick him in with the Root Passers. So let's talk through the rest of the teams. So these guys are all 6s with Pocket Passer, and there's a little bit of difference in how the teams are set up, but essentially the quarterbacks themselves are all homogeneous. Then we've got these guys who have all got Root Passer, and again there's a bit of difference in the way the teams are set up, but they're otherwise homogeneous. This guy is Screen Passer. Now, as I said, Screen Passer has got worse. The reason I say that is if I've got any old quarterback back here, and I've got, let's do it with a team I've actually got out. So I got the spaceships out here. So let's just set the spaceships up as though we were going to be doing a quick play. Let's make it a spaceships home game. And the spaceships are setting up for a first down, having just about to kick off the game. So what I would do is set my 7 out wide, put a 4 next to him, and set my line up. Now 3, I don't know if you will have seen my video on using your 3 with team player. Generally speaking, I hate having a 3 with team player. When I've got Pocket Passer, it kind of becomes the exception. It's still not fantastic, but having a 3 with team player when you've got a Pocket Passer, putting him as your centre just allows you to make a really, really solid defensive line there. Sorry, offensive line. It's really difficult to get these guys shifted. So what I would do is, if I was wanting to do a screen pass, if I was actually planning it, set these guys up like this. And when we take all these 16 cards into hand, so if we make ourselves blue and take those cards into hand, all I'd need to do is put my 5 as the first card and then put 7, 7. And then I don't really care what else I put. I'm looking for bonus activations at this point, so I'll put the 47 and I'll put the 41. Now, when it comes to playing these cards out, all I would do is flip that one over, 5, snap the ball to him, and throw it to 41. So it's already at short range, so add an extra card, it's now +2, and add the 41 for a +3. Roll the dice, and at +3, all we need is, well, that's not a very good roll. All we need is a 7, which is, there you go. So throw the ball, and then because I got a free activation off it, and you will get a free activation 58% of the time, you can take the hand off and run with it. And if you've got an instance like this where you've got to go with spin, that suddenly becomes a really scary threat, because the next 2 cards are also 7s. So looking at ways of getting these sorts of bonus activations is quite cool. It's pretty much the benefit Screen Passer had. The benefit Screen Passer had originally was that it was the only way of getting a guaranteed +3 roll to one of your receivers when they're behind the line of scrimmage. You play the screen passer's card and his other card, and it's short range, so you're at +3. But now everyone's got a catch, it kind of feels like everyone is entitled to it, and that kind of defeats the point of having a skill. So I feel that kind of devalues him, and it devalues him a little bit as well, but he's just awesome in his own right, so we'll let him off. So in terms of setting up, like I say, I will tend to set up, if I've got either bighorns or spaceships, I will tend to put the 3 in the middle, make a nice solid line, either narrow and have these guys in tight, or make it a little bit wider. Particularly if you've got the 3 there who's got team player, there's no harm in making it wide like that. So that's pretty much how I'd set up for Pocket Passer. First 2 cards would probably get these guys quite deep, and then you're looking at getting bonus activations, threatening the throw the whole time, making sure you keep the pocket nice and tight. 5th card, I'll often move him out and give an extra option, or I'll do an adjustment and maneuver these 2. When you're playing against Pocket Passer, it's quite important never to let your opponent never to use your adjustment before your opponent. The reason being is that he can just adjust. The guy with Pocket Passer can just adjust and get 2 guys open simultaneously, which means that when we get to our playing cards from hand, you're then going to have a real headache. And I guess when I talk about playing cards from hand, that's where we look at the new Pocket Passer rule. So the old Pocket Passer rule said that you would get a +2, but only when playing cards from hand, or rather only when playing cards after the initial 5-card play call. The new Pocket Passer rule just accrues bonuses provided this guy doesn't have any defenders on him, which I think everyone immediately thought was, oh wow, that's awesome, now it means he's perpetually going to be at +3, and and he can throw it 3rd card in his deck. You really don't want to be putting your quarterback into your play call when you've got Pocket Passer, because if you haven't got an open receiver at that point, you're not going to be throwing it, and you're just going to be wasting a card. What's more is you're going to be wasting one of the quarterback's cards, so it's really, really bad. Your best thing you can do when you've got when you've got Pocket Passer is to keep the pocket as clean as possible. Keep these 3 guys moving to keep guys out. So if you see someone blitzing from this side, you move and intercept them. You might find yourself getting an early throw off the back of one of your free activations, and if that happens, then you'd be a fool not to take it. But like I say, the most important thing with Pocket Passer is to keep the pocket clean. Then I'm going to look at why that makes QB read so important. So as I said, timing of the pass is everything. You do not want in fact, let's move them back. You do not want to be in a situation where when you draw the QB's card, you haven't got an open receiver. And the whole point of these guys is that you can use QB read in one of 2 ways. You can either use it as an opportunity to, like, let's say you've got an open receiver and the other guy's played a 5 or a 4 or a 3. You QB read and you've got a free pass. It's completely open, which is great. The other way you can use it is to avoid pressure. So if you can see that the guy's blitzing, you do a QB read, and if he's blitzing with a 5, you just roll out of it, and you either turn it into a run for your quarterback, hopefully gaining at least sort of 15 yards, and if that isn't the option, then you just roll out of it, keep back here, and pass when you get the opportunity. But either way, having QB read is way, way stronger than any other skill in the game. I've talked about QB read, I've talked about Pocket Passer, let's talk about Route Passer. So only 4 teams in the game have Route Passer. They're all pretty similar. except for obviously team setup. Now, tridents are awesome. I don't know if you saw my other videos on the blitzing, but having 4 skills on 4 different players is really, really powerful, and they've got exactly that. So that's quite cool. When you're doing route passing, it is a bit more possible to put the QB into your play call. When he shows up, you can always sort of turn someone into being a viable target. But the one thing I would say is you want to be very careful where you position the pass. So I'd have to set this up in a game scenario and try and sort of find an example of when it might happen. But one thing you can do when you've got route passer is you can send a couple of guys deep and try and use them in a way that ties up the other guy's safeties. And if you can get it so that there is a spot you can throw to where you could reach it on a full success, but the other guy couldn't reach it on a partial success, then that's great. You know, because you can throw it to that area without any risk. And if it works, great. You know, you can run onto it and run away for a nice gain of 40 or 50 yards. And if it doesn't work out, well, you call it incomplete and nothing's going to, you know, nothing lost. So these route passing guys are very good, and route passing's definitely got better. Now the next thing I'm going to talk about is the number on the guys. So as you can see, the skill ratings for passing skills are only ever given out to skill ratings of 5 or 6 or 7. This guy's kind of an oddity. I don't know you can really even call him a QB, really, but yeah. These two are the only two guys that are 5s. The rest of them are all 6s or a couple of 7s. I really don't like having a 5 as my QB, or a 4 for that matter, but I think the range really hampers these guys. You really need a 6 or maybe even a 7. I'd love to see a team with a 7 with pocket passer and QB read, because I think that would be a fascinating situation. The other thing is in terms of how you force your opponent to defend against it. When you've got QB read, when you've got pocket passer, so all these guys, the natural instinct is to try and blitz them. Because obviously you don't want them to get their bonuses up and you don't want them to get the pass away at +3. When you're against QB read, the natural instinct is to want to try and do zonal defense. So want to hang back and just cover all the passes so that they've got no option to just suddenly pull out the QB's card and make an awesome throw. So that makes this guy very, very difficult because obviously he's got both. So you can't play zone against him and you can't play blitz against him. So you kind of just have to be reliant on luck. And I'd love to see, the only thing better than Dodgers would be having a 7 with pocket passer and QB read. Because I just think he'd be really, really difficult to handle. So that's kind of a very quick summary on passing. Looking at the different passing skills and how I'd set up a formation. Like I said, the other option would be if this was greenbacks, for example. With greenbacks, I often put my 5 in the middle, put the 4s either side, and then 3 and 5. I've got Dodgers back there. So that's one formation I sometimes do with greenbacks. If I can see them up against a blitzing team and I know they're going to come and bully me, sometimes I'll even put these guys back here. And it's a very weird formation to look at, but the reason I do this, and sometimes even spread them a little bit wider as well, the reason I do this is if I can see that the blitz is definitely going to come from this side, then as a first motion all I do is move him across, and now I'm very, very safe on this side. I'm open on this side, sure, but if he's got his 3 and his blitzer both on this side, then I kind of feel I can take that risk a little bit. Yeah, One other formation which works quite nicely, especially Bighorns were able to make use of this, is to put a couple of guys here. And the reason this works so well is that the 3 has team player, so it kind of, that's a very solid front line. And then, you know, you've got to get through 2 layers of defense effectively. You can still get these guys down as wide receivers, but this is a very difficult formation for a blitz to try and break down. So yeah, those are all different options you've got for how to set up your formation with pocket passer. Mostly the similar formations work with route passer, but the one key with route passer is, just like I say, be careful with these wide receivers trying to get them to tie up the opposition's safeties in such a way that you've got one square you can aim at where you can get there and they can't. And that's pretty much it. Thanks.